For those of you who don't know, I used to work under an animation studio as a character designer, and I used to design numerous VTubers in Hololive, which I can't really talk about the details because obviously those are a bunch of balonies. And I would call myself an artist if I could draw better than Sokaku. But I do follow a bunch of illustrators on the Twitter, and I scroll their artwork like a terminally ill addicts on daily basis. So I think I could talk a little bit about Yanagi's design. So I made the videos about Yanagi's design, and the videos was actually talking about how I like the design direction that MiHoYo is doing. That they're not trying to milk the player with the existing design from other games, because there's so many similarity between Yanagi and the Raiden Shogun. Like their elements are electrics, and their weapons are the same, and they are both Japanese archetype, except their color palette and the design direction. Which Raiden Shogun is more of a traditional Japanese, another Raiden export looks like she's in a rock band, while Yanagi is more of a modern design with some elegant touches. In that video, I talked about how I respect MiHoYo for not just copy-pasting another Raiden into this game, and damn, I am so blinded that I missed this person from the trailer because I got so distracted with these two huge giant ponytails. And she does look like Raiden Shogun if she were in the Zenless Zone Zero. I even put one of her fan art in the videos, and I thought it's an imaginary work from the fan. And I also spread this misinformation about the 3 pools from the 3rd anniversary, but it's actually coming from the Lantern Rite.
同时，为了感谢旅行者们在过去1年里的支持与陪伴，我们还将通过游戏内邮件的方式为旅行者们奉上3个纠缠之源。
And for me, who have a memory of a goldfish, wouldn't be able to recall that accurately, but regardless, I was there at the time, and it doesn't change the fact that 3 pools actually enraged Genshin fanbase at the time. But I'm still sorry for the mistake I made, and I didn't cover enough Yanagi's design in that video. Even though I fumbled so many things on that video, it is unironically the best performing video in my channel, and the like-dislike ratio is also looking healthy, and I think it's because the main message that I was trying to put out there resonate with a lot of audience. So even with the Zenless Zone Zero version of Raiden Shogun, my opinions still stand because we could expect the Zenless Zone Zero version of Raiden is going to be completely different from the Honkai Star Rail and the Genshin Impacts. So anyway, let's actually talk about Yanagi's design in depth. The most noticeable equipment is the shoulder guard. You can see they got the horn, the spike, and this logo. The logo is the same with the banner of a highly regarded commander, Takeda Shingen, which he is famous for barely losing the war. He only lost 3 battles out of 72 battles, won 49 of them, and the rest is draw, because he is well known for being cautious, and he never started a battle without learning the enemy thoroughly. Basically a historical figure that being highly praised as a master of strategy, and I think that indicate how Yanagi approached the fight. They even slip some of the lore into the mindscape. Know thyself, know thy enemy, chess master. This is definitely not a coincidence. Somebody in the design department has to be obsessive with the Japanese history to came out with the lore this deep. It seems like even though Zenless Zone Zero is supposed to take place in the fictional setting, but they have done more historical research for Yanagi than the whole Assassin's Creed Shadow. The other component of a samurai is her stomach guard, which looks pretty good, which I think it goes along pretty well with the honkers up there. It's meant to carry the massive amount of weight. I think her weapon creativity is 10 out of 10. Like her weapon is compactable. Like the handling is actually retractable. It's so cool. But it's also kind of a lackluster in terms of the choice of color and the size of it, because it doesn't really stand out as much in terms of visual perspective. And speaking of not standing out, her overall design is not the most eye-catching design in the first glance. A respectable amount of comment in my videos do say that she looks like an NPC. Her design is niches because she's wearing an office lady's outfit, which anybody with a pair of functional eyes could could tell. And of course, Zenless Zone Game Dev would actually add a lot of features on top of this office outfit, like her bow tie and the tie on the sleeve would add some little touch of elegance. I think female audience out there could recognize this detail pretty much immediately. And this thing outside of the button that I don't know the names of it also add the element of elegance in it, and the strength of the button has to be the strongest thing in the world to hold that thing together in a fight. The ring accessory on her hair also give a traditional vibe in a creative way. I think Yanagi is the type of characters that the more you look into it, the better it gets. Because she actually has a lot of details to be appreciated. And I think the reason why Zenless Zone Zero decided to go with this design, I think is because of the popularity of a characters from Chainsaw Man, Makima, which is also an office lady, and they also share the same kind of body type. And the other main reason why do they want to go with the office lady is because office lady is a thing in the Eastern Asian side. Let me show you guys a videos from a Taiwanese professional baseball match. These are not bunch of office lady feeling rousy that day and decide to relieve some stress after work and dance in the middle of a baseball match. They are legitimate cheerleaders who cosplaying office lady up there. Somebody actually makes a content out of this, dress as an office lady to see how many men would turn their head and checks on them. And doing this iconic Yanagi shoes fixing posture. And 3 of them actually turn their head and check on her. So it's definitely not niches in the eastern side. I just want you guys to get an idea of how prevalent do people in the Eastern Asia fetishize the office lady. Because we could actually see people dressed like that on the subway. But think about it, people who are supposed to dress like that are working adult. It's probably the least weird thing to be fetishized upon as compared to other weirder stuff. Like your stepsister stuck herself in the washing machine supposed to turn somebody on. And that is probably something I will never understand in the Western side. But there's nothing wrong if you like it. I'm just saying we should respect the cultural differences. And the other thing I want to point out about the outfit, the pantyhose usually goes like bread and butter with the office lady outfit. But in Yanagi design, they don't go with pantyhose. They decide to go with something off the textbook. They decide to show the skin of her legs, and the proportion of her legs is noticeably longer than other characters. Because I think if Yanagi wear the pantyhose, her overall color palette would look even more plain from an overall perspective. Because pantyhose is also a dark color that would blend with her skirt. And we could also see a little cherry on tops with this communication device on her ears. And this typical choice of anime glasses that only have the bottom half of the frame in order to show their eyes better. With all that said, Yanagi design is still not the most eye-catching design when compared to characters like Bernice, or even some rather quirky characters like the Nicole Coleda Ambi. I mean, Ambi is literally the face of Zenless Zone Zero. And I think the other characters that looks basic but actually eyes-catching is Grace. And I think the goggles on the tops of Grace actually plays a huge part of why she stands out even though she's dressing in a pretty rather basic clothing. But Yanagi doesn't really have that type of quirkiness on her. But maybe it's because they meant to design her to be less quirky. Especially from a personality perspective, it wouldn't make sense for an assistant type of person who is good at working in the office, working for the government, to be so expressive with her personalities. There's a fundamental differences between an actual boring, badly designed characters and the characters that is meant to be less quirky as compared to other Zenless Zone Zero characters which has very distinguishable design. Because this is not the first time in the gacha history that people claim that a character looks boring. Like when the 3D models of Raiden Shogun leak, people also claim that she looks like an NPC and is boring until she draws that sword out of her booba. So I think animation in itself plays a huge part of character design. I mean, if Yanagi draw her weapon out of her skirt like some anime did, people wouldn't complain her being boring anymore. And I do think Zenless Zone Zero goes really hard with her animation to make up for the monotone nature of her design. I mean, some of them looks like it's straight out of the JoJo Bizarre Adventure, and I think the other thing about building a characters is the backstory of these characters, which we are about to experience in the 1.3. And I think the great examples of this is Fireflies in the Honkai Star Rail. I think there were voices about Firefly's design being mid. I don't even know that she's a playable character when I met her. But I think everyone's opinion changed when we go through all the story with the Fireflies and becomes probably one of the most popular characters in the Honkai Star Rail. And I do think that a lot of people has already changed their opinion after seeing this trailer of Yanagi's relationship between her and the Sokaku. The trailer is so good, you gotta watch that if you haven't yet. I don't expect the Firefly's levels of story with the Yanagi in 1.3, but I think it would be something that complete Yanagi as a character. So we get to know about Yanagi more than just her design. And the last thing that I want to talk about is that they could have just made Yanagi have a pair of rabbit's ear, and the whole she looks like a NPC allegation wouldn't happen. That's pretty much it. See you guys. And like and sub if you would.